Imagine for a moment that you are 23 years old. You are working 60 hours a week as a VIP concierge at the Arya Grand Resort in Las Vegas, trying to pay off your mother's medical debt. You wear a stiff uniform, you keep your head down, and you do exactly what you are told. At 10 p.m. on a Tuesday, your manager hands you a bottle of bourbon worth $5,000. He tells you to deliver it to the chairman's penthouse on the 34th floor. You ride the private elevator. You place the bottle on the table. You walk out and you lock the heavy steel door behind you. It is the most mundane task in the world. But 12 hours later, you are sitting in a windowless interrogation room, handcuffed to a metal table. The billionaire who rented that penthouse is dead. $10 million in casino chips are missing. And the Las Vegas Metro Police are telling you that because you were the last person in that room, and because the security cameras prove no one else ever went inside, you are going to federal prison for the rest of your life. You know you didn't do it. But in a city where cameras see everything, the footage says you are the only one who could have. How do you prove your innocence when the laws of physics are testifying against you? Chapter 1: The Unseen Fortress. To understand the terror of the trap set for 23-year-old Leo Torres, you have to understand the environment he walked into. The chairman's penthouse is a fortress. The only way to reach it is via an encrypted elevator. The hallway is monitored by 4 overlapping high-definition security cameras with absolutely 0 blind spots. If a person breathes on the 34th floor, casino security sees it. The man occupying this fortress was Vincent Croft. At 58, Croft was a ruthless billionaire real estate developer. He was hated by his competitors and feared by his staff. On the night of October 11th, Croft was on a massive winning streak, cashing out $10 million in rare cranberry high roller chips. Security footage captured Croft at the VIP cage at 11 p.m. 2 armed guards handed him a locked briefcase containing the chips. Croft rode the elevator up to the penthouse alone. The hallway camera recorded him entering his suite at exactly 11:28 p.m. The door clicked shut. The deadbolt engaged. And the cameras proved that until housekeeping drilled the lock the next morning, that heavy steel door never opened again. Chapter 2: The Shattered Briefcase. When detectives breached the suite the following morning, they found Vincent Croft slumped over the card table. There were no signs of a struggle. His tailored suit was immaculate. On the table sat a crystal glass and the open bottle of Pappy Van Winkle bourbon, the exact bottle Leo Torres had delivered an hour before Croft arrived. But it was the floor that caught the detective's attention. The locked briefcase that had contained $10 million in chips was lying on the carpet. It had sprung violently open. The steel hinges were completely snapped, but the inside was entirely empty. Not a single chip was left. The initial theory was horrifying for Leo. Detectives believed the young concierge had hidden inside the 4,000 square foot suite, poisoned the billionaire, violently pried open the briefcase, and somehow smuggled the chips out in a laundry cart the next morning. The medical examiner quickly confirmed the cause of death: a massive concentrated dose of aconitine, a lethal fast-acting plant toxin. It had been laced into the bourbon. The police had their murder weapon, they had their timeline, and they had their prime suspect. Chapter 3. The Weight of the System. Leo Torres was pulled off the casino floor in handcuffs in front of hundreds of tourists. Inside the interrogation room, the pressure was suffocating. Detectives threw photos of Croft's dead body onto the table. They showed Leo his own bank statements, highlighting his crushing medical debt, painting him as a desperate kid who killed a billionaire to steal $10 million. Leo was weeping. He begged them to check the cameras again. He swore he only placed the bottle on the table and left. But the detectives didn't care. Aconitine acts within 3 minutes. Croft couldn't have fought back. The door was locked from the inside. If an intruder had hidden in the room before Croft arrived, the hallway cameras would have seen them enter. But the footage was completely clear. To the police, Leo wasn't just a suspect. He was a closed case. The district attorney was already drafting capital murder charges. Leo was about to be completely swallowed by a justice system he couldn't afford to fight. But just as the DA prepared to file the indictment, a forensic technician working in the county crime lab looked through a microscope and saved Leo Torres' life. Chapter 4. The Cork Contradiction. The technician was examining the bottle of rare bourbon. The thick red wax seal covering the cork had been broken by Croft when he poured the drink. But beneath the wax, the cork contained a microscopic puncture wound. It was less than a millimeter wide. The killer hadn't uncorked the bottle. They had used an incredibly thin, medical-grade hypodermic needle to inject the colorless, odorless poison directly through the wax and into the liquor. The timeline completely shattered. Leo had carried the bottle from the cellar to the room in under 4 minutes, surrounded by cameras. He didn't have the time, the privacy, or the medical expertise to execute a flawless microscopic injection. The murder didn't happen in the penthouse. It happened before the bottle ever left the subterranean wine cellar. The realization hit the detectives like cold water. Leo wasn't a criminal mastermind. He was an innocent pawn, specifically chosen to take the fall for a professional hit. Chapter 5. The RFID Anomaly. If the poison was injected in the cellar, Leo was innocent. But that meant the true killer was never in the penthouse. If the killer was never in the room and the door was locked from the inside, how did the killer break the steel hinges of the briefcase and steal $10 million in chips? Detectives turned to the casino's lead cybersecurity engineer. Las Vegas high roller chips are incredibly sophisticated. Each one contains a microscopic RFID tracker. The engineer pulled up the tracking logs on the casino's mainframe to see exactly when the chips left the 34th floor. The room fell completely silent. According to the tracking software, the chips never went up to the 34th floor. The network log showed the chips were still sitting perfectly stacked in the main casino vault. Detectives rushed to the subterranean vault. With armed guards flanking them, they forced open the safety deposit box assigned to the VIP cage. But inside, the box was completely empty. The cyber engineer explained the terrifying reality. The chips were gone. A rogue employee had hacked the VIP cage's inventory system. The malware was playing a fake digital loop, tricking the RFID sensors into thinking the chips were safe in the vault, while the real chips were smuggled right out the back door in a duffel bag. Chapter 6. The Dry Ice Illusion. The entire robbery in the penthouse was a brilliantly orchestrated illusion. But Croft wasn't a fool. When he was handed the briefcase at the VIP cage, he would have noticed if it was empty. It had to weigh exactly the same as $10 million in clay chips. Crime scene technicians swabbed the interior lining of the broken briefcase in the Penthouse. They didn't find clay dust. They found incredibly high concentrated levels of carbon dioxide. The illusion was absolute genius. The inside man hadn't handed Croft an empty briefcase. He had handed him a decoy briefcase packed with high-density blocks of dry ice. Solid carbon dioxide perfectly calibrated on a digital scale to match the exact weight of the chips. But dry ice doesn't just evaporate. It expands. As it turns from a solid into a gas, it expands to 800 times its original volume. Before handing the briefcase over, the killer intentionally weakened the steel hinges. When Croft went up to his room and drank the poisoned bourbon, he simply set the briefcase on the floor. He didn't need to drop it. Over the next hour, as the dry ice sublimated into gas, the internal pressure inside the sealed, airtight briefcase built to a catastrophic level. The immense pressure forced the weakened hinges to snap, blowing the briefcase violently open. The gas vented silently into the massive penthouse. When the police breached the room, they found a shattered, empty briefcase. They assumed a thief had pried it open and fled. But no one had to enter the room to steal the chips, because the contents had simply vanished into thin air. Chapter 7. The Mojave Dead End. The police quickly identified the inside man. David Vance, a 10-year veteran of the casino's security team, had used his credentials to enter the wine cellar and poison the bottle. He had handed Croft the dry ice briefcase. He had used the malware to smuggle the real chips out of the building. And then he had vanished. The FBI subpoenaed the GPS telemetry from Vance's pickup truck. At 4 p.m., the telemetry pinged 70 miles southwest of Las Vegas, off a dirt road near the Mojave Desert. A SWAT team touched down in a cloud of desert dust. But they didn't find a mastermind enjoying his wealth. They found a ghost. Vance was slumped over the steering wheel, shot twice in the chest. The vehicle had been wiped down with industrial bleach. The authentic chips were completely gone, likely melted down or destroyed by the assassins to erase any physical trail. Vance had served his purpose. He had planted the poison. He had built the dry ice illusion. He had set up Leo Torres to take the fall. And for his loyalty, the true mastermind executed him in the desert. Chapter 8. The Ghost in the Mainframe. With their inside man dead, the FBI had to rely entirely on digital forensics. To bypass a casino vault system, a hacker needs a zero-day exploit, custom military-grade malware. The FBI Cyber Division spent 4 days tearing apart the casino's source code. Buried deep within the vault's automated tracking log, they found the digital parasite. But brilliant code always carries the signature of its creator. The malware had a failsafe that transmitted a tiny confirmation ping back to a command server. The FBI traced the IP address of that server. It led directly to a private, encrypted satellite router registered to a massive luxury yacht docked in Monaco. The yacht belonged to Gregory Langdon. Chapter 9. The Rival Billionaire. Gregory Langdon was the exact mirror image of the murdered Vincent Croft. A 60-year-old real estate tycoon, he despised Croft with a burning, absolute hatred. The motive was found in the Clark County Recorder's office. 2 days before Croft was poisoned, he had won a blind auction for a massive 30-acre parcel of prime land on the Strip, outbidding Langdon by $50 million. But the contract had an ironclad contingency clause. If Vincent Croft died before the final ink dried on Friday afternoon, the land would immediately default to the second highest bidder, Gregory Langdon. Langdon didn't just want Croft dead out of spite. He needed him dead to secure a billion-dollar monopoly. The stolen $10 million was simply the operating budget he used to pay the hackers, the assassins, and the rogue security guard. Chapter 10. The Maritime Trap. Langdon believed he was untouchable in Monaco, but the FBI knew how to play to his greed. The Las Vegas Real Estate Commission sent Langdon an official notice. Due to Croft's sudden passing, the 30-acre parcel was prepared to transfer to his holding company. But to finalize it and prevent a probate freeze, Langdon had to sign the documents in person in Las Vegas within 48 hours. It was a trap. Langdon's private jet landed at McCarran International Airport. He walked down the steps wearing a tailored suit, expecting real estate lawyers. Instead, 12 heavily armed federal agents were waiting on the tarmac. Chapter 11. The Interrogation of a Tycoon. Inside the federal building, Langdon sat flanked by high-priced defense attorneys. He radiated arrogant confidence, demanding his release. The lead detective laid down a printed log of the satellite telemetry. Your hackers were brilliant, Mr. Langdon, but they forgot to scrub the confirmation ping. We traced the malware deployment directly to your personal router. Langdon's attorneys claimed the router was spoofed. The detective leaned forward. So we tracked the financial records of the shell company that bought the aconitine poison from Germany. That shell company was funded by a cryptocurrency wallet accessed using the exact same IP address on your yacht 10 minutes after the poison was shipped. The color drained from Langdon's face. He had spent millions to engineer an impossible mystery and frame an innocent kid, but he was undone by a string of invisible digital code. Chapter 12. The House Always Wins. Gregory Langdon was found guilty of first-degree murder, federal racketeering, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. He was sentenced to life in a federal penitentiary without the possibility of parole. The Arya Grand Casino completely overhauled its security protocols. The chairman's penthouse was entirely renovated. And as for Leo Torres, the 23-year-old concierge, who was almost buried alive by the justice system, was entirely exonerated. Following a massive civil settlement with the casino for his wrongful detainment, Leo paid off his mother's medical debt entirely. He never worked in a casino again. It is a chilling reminder of the reality of Las Vegas. You can build a fortress in the sky, protected by cameras and steel doors. But the most dangerous threats are the ones you can't see on a monitor. They're the expanding pressure of a frozen gas, the microscopic puncture in a wax seal, and the ruthless greed of a man willing to destroy an innocent life just to win a hand.